All right, so we're gonna get things kicked off. Still see some people filtering in, but we're gonna get things going. Welcome in. We are doing admin hour 2 live Salesforce installation packages. Here with me today we have Vinny and Justin from scaleMatters. During this time as well, before I kick it over to introductions, please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions. There's a Q&A section, but whatever you prefer, we are going to be filtering questions as we go along. These are better held for the end as just the way that we're going to do this is so the package going through. It is better if we're ready for at the end. Do not get to, I will drop Justin and Vinny's LinkedIn on here, and you can also reach out to them in the community if you are in the community. They are going to be doing follow-up from this as well, so happy to answer any questions here, and then after that we don't get to. With that being said, Vinny, I want to kick it over to you to kind of start introductions.
Awesome. Dylan, thank you for that intro. Everybody, hey now, thanks for joining our little kickoff installation today. So let's go ahead. I only got basically 2 slides to kind of run through. Basically, here's a quick intro. Here's my pretty self. Here's Justin's beautiful self. I've been kicking around the Salesforce environment for about 15 years or so. Originally from Jersey, live in Austin, Texas now. Love tattoos, love drinking bourbon, but my biggest guiltiest pleasure, trashy TV. Go ahead, Justin.
What's your favorite trash TV show?
Oh God, love After Lockup on WeTV. Literally my kryptonite. Every Sunday night, I'm just watching that off the DVR. I am not embarrassed to even admit it.
Good to know. All right, Justin, if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, I'm muffling laughter. I love you, Vinny. So I'm Justin Gavette. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for 8 years, 10 times certified. I've been joking with Dan and Vinny that I need to change my first name to 10 times certified because that is how everyone introduces me on LinkedIn. Originally from Arizona, now living in Atlanta. I am a LinkedIn troll to people that I know. So typically I am sarcastic a-hole to people that I love. I have 3 cats, and one of them is our unofficial go-to-market advisor, who is also right here.
Hey.
And happy to be here.
Awesome. So everybody, let's go ahead and get ourselves kicked in. I'll start us off by going into our round robin implementation. So what we have essentially is a managed package. So we'll basically share this out after the call if you guys are not able to sort of get these links prior to. In addition to, I sort of have a step-by-step walkthrough guide. So if you do sort of get some questions, we'll hold all those all the way until the end. But you do have this to kind of come back to sort of scroll through everything I'm going to cover basically today. So let's go ahead and kick ourselves off here. I'm using the screen recording just because I wasn't sure how my internet was going to be. So what we'll do is let's go ahead and I've already skipped in this sense the installation of a package. And part of this, what we're doing is this has a built-in email alert. I do realize that you can use Slack alerts now with Salesforce. I didn't build that into this package for you, but if you want, there's tons of documentation out in the Salesforce community to be able to do this. I just figured if we have organizations that are on Microsoft using Teams, it's not fair to them. So everybody does support email. So we're using that. So one of the key things that this does do though, is it uses an organization-wide email address. So this is sort of a prerequisite to it. So you want to make sure you sort of have this set up. And then the second piece is we also have within the flow itself, given you the option to do like an on-demand round robin. So for this case, in this instruction, I'm doing this all on the lead object. This can theoretically be put on any sort of object as you're going through your configuration. So if you do want to use sort of an on-demand, and I also like to put in here a sort of like round robin date and timestamp just for like a way to kind of come back like, hey, why the heck did this person get assigned this? These are ways to sort of tell you it went through this process. All right, so again, because it's unmanaged, you can basically add anything you want on here and kind of run into it. So what we're essentially doing is we've created 2 basic objects. This first one is the round robin object. So all we're doing is we're going to create a round robin, give it whatever name you want. In this case, RevOps Co-op. We're going to go ahead and make it active, and we're going to give it a default assignee. So what that means is that if we try to use this round robin and there's no assignees in here, it's going to go to the default person. So while we're on here, we're going to now grab our second object, which is now a round robin assignee. So this is going to just search for any users, and we're going to go ahead and add as many as we want. In this demo org, I only have one additional user. So in this case, we're adding Sammy SDR, right? So now we sort of notice that we've now moved away from all of our alerts there. So we'll move over to flow. And what we have now is essentially two flows here. One is our round robin template. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to open up our template. And the first thing I always recommend us to do here is to go and we're going to save it as a new version. So that way, if I do come in and I break this or do something, I always have the template to sort of come back to. So I'm coming in, saving as, I'm going to give myself my own round robin template name. And what we're going to do too is we're going to remove the template now, right? Because now we're going to start to use the version we want to do. You know, safe harbor here. You should make these sort of changes in a sandbox first, test them, make sure you're doing it all right and appropriate there versus production. Unless you're risky like Justin, you like making production changes. Hey, oh, I'm just busting his chops. Right, you are going to get these alerts here because it's saying, by the way, you're using an email send, but you're not actually putting an email address, but we're using a variable here. So that way we're not hard coding any sort of emails in here. It'll change based off of who's being assigned the record. So even though this is kind of giving you a little bit of a warning, nothing to super worry about in this case. So as we sort of go through, we're going to look at our toolbox. And I went ahead and I labeled everything in here that you need to kind of come in and manually update with Fix Me. So this sort of shows you right off the bat, what do I need to kind of come in and personalize to my actual organization or how I want to use this. Right. So for starters, we're starting this out by saying, is this a new record or an edit? All right. And in this case, again, this demonstration is being done on the lead object itself, and I have it running on create and update. All right, but you can change this to whatever object you would prefer, and then you can then start to turn on some conditions. Maybe not everything goes in here, maybe only some records, so on and so forth. Just go ahead and make this whatever your heart desires in a sense. Okay, so in this case, maybe I want to do lead source. Anything that comes in from web, I want to run through this case. All right, but for now, I got this pretty much open. So again, I got two paths. Am I a brand new record or am I an edit, right? Which is my default outcome. So first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump over to our new side. So by default, you know, again, I have us labeled as Fix Me. I recommend as you go through and you fix these to your org, you remove the Fix Me. So you no longer need to see what it is that you need to come back and update. So for this example, I have net new records coming in where lead source equals web. I want this to run through my process to go through and automate the ownership. So sure, people say, Vinny, why don't you just use assignment rules, dummy? Well, you can, but this gives you a bit more flexibility in a sense, in my opinion. Or I can have multiple different outcomes. Maybe I want 5 or 6 different round robins to be used for different source values or ownerships or industries or territories, whatever your little heart desires. So our next case now is we're going to go and we're going to grab our round robin records that we created. So before, right, I created this round robin record, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to just copy the name of the round robin. So again, you make this whatever you'd like, right? We're putting our name in here. We're just going to grab that first record, right? We remove that. We're going to remember our API name, because now what we're going to do is we're going to need to just double check here, right? What's the API we're referencing to grab now these secondary object relationships of our assignees? Okay, so right now in this demonstration, I'm doing this where we only have one decision outcome. Again, if you make 3, 4, 5 of these, right, you can just start to clone these. Just make sure you're changing your reference point of your round robin ID. Okay. So go through, we're going to just remove again our fix me's because again, we want to just kind of see what else do we have to fix. Right, so now we have a next decision. Did we actually find an active assignee? Okay, so what I'm saying in this collection, I just grabbed a record, I found one. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update the owner. Okay, so if you want, you can obviously start to add on additional fields, right? Maybe I want to change my status. Maybe I want to set my round robin date and time. Maybe I want to change something. This is where you can do it. All right, and again, just like everything else, we'll remove our fix me's. Now what we're going to do is we're going to update our round robin assignee. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to say the last time they were assigned was right now at this point. Again, because it's an unmanaged object, you can add additional fields if you need be. So now what we're starting to do is we're starting to pass through some variables. So right now what I'm doing is I'm copying over their email address. So I'm basically getting their email address from their assignee record. And then the next thing that I'm doing is getting their first name as well. So again, if you wanted to add in additional objects here that are variables or things that you want to sort of call out in an email that are potentially variable related, go ahead and add them as additional keys. So now on this side, we did not find an actual active assignee. So what we're going to do now is we're going to assign this over to our default owner, right? So in this case, instead of airing this out, not having anybody active, we sort of have a default to give this over to. So similar, right? Again, we're coming in. If we want to add some additional variables, we can. Go ahead and just update your fixed fees when you're ready to rock and roll. And then what we'll do is we're going to come back to our email section after we now run through our on-demand side. So now what we're looking at is records that are now being edited. So in this case, right, I'm using for this example, I created a field on the lead called RR on demand. So basically what I'm going to say now is this record has equals true. And then I'm also going to put it's changed as true, right? So we don't want this to fire every single time a record is edited where this is set to true, only on this exact change. All right. Otherwise, if that didn't hit this condition, the process just ends. So now again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our round robin. You may want to have a different round robin to use or a different collection of people. Again, I'm just using this very simply to go back to the same one. I'm just bringing in my round robin name. And then again, I'm going to grab those assignees, but just make sure in this case, we're grabbing the record from our on-demand version, not the first one that we did previously. All right, we'll go ahead, we'll remove our fix me's. We're going to again come through our same sort of decision. Did I find somebody in my assignee? Again, that's tied to my round robin. And then again, here we go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set additional fields. Should we want to use these sort of fields, right? We'll do on demand, round robin. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my on demand to false and then set the date and time of when this now has been assigned over to this user, right? We'll kill my fix me's. Again, maybe you want to set your status. Maybe you want to change something else depending on your organization and your internal structures. All right, so again, we're going back to our assignee. If there's any additional fields you want to do here, right? All I'm doing here is simply updating the last time that they were assigned this on the date and time. So again, if you want to pass any variables, right, sort of rinse and repeat here. But again, if you want to sort of keep this with anything that you want to customize on your end, this is where you sort of enter it or update it. So again, now we're going back over to our default owner, right? We're setting on demand to false. We'll set our date and time. We'll store any variables. Again, rinse and repeat. I keep saying again, so I apologize for sounding like a broken record. Now we're going to jump down to an email alert. So should you want to use this email alert, we start you off with kind of a default email body, right? We'll go ahead and we'll find it. In this case, it's hi first name, giving some basic information. Hey, maybe I also want to pass across lead source or any other sort of field you want in this scenario. We'll go ahead, we're going to grab this field and include it in our template. And we'll notice in this case too, we're using sort of this lead URL. If you are using sort of, you know, a my domain or something like that, make sure you go ahead and you update this to your appropriate domain. So that way, when it does come in, it kind of links directly to the record a little bit easier, right? So I'm just going to grab this, copy this on over, update my template now. And then we can remove that, fix this URL. And then we're going to just, again, repeat sort of the date and time. So feel free, you know, you can edit this to whatever you want this to read. Again, I'm just killing all the fix me stuff within this. So that way I can look at my toolbar at the end and no longer find any more fix me's that I have to come in and adjust. So similarly, right, we have now our subject line. You know, maybe in this case, by default, we're just doing the record's first name, last name. Maybe I also want to add in the company. right? So basically our person who's alerted this, they kind of can quickly see right in their email logs, particular names, particular companies, whatever. Again, you make this be as easy or as hard as you want in your own organization. So lastly, right, we now have our sender email address. This is where this organizational wide email comes into play. So make sure you sort of have this set up. Otherwise, you got to save your flow and kind of come back to it. So we're just going to kind of copy and paste this down. And then lastly, what we're going to say in this scenario, we're going to use an org-wide email address as our sending type. So if you do have additional questions, right, we have a link here to basically Salesforce documentation. And in those variables, right, we're passing over the email address. So here we pretty much have this ready to rock and roll, right? We're going to clean up our last fix me. We're going to take a quick test now and look in our toolbox to see if there's any more fix me's. We'll go ahead, save. We're going to get this same warning again, right? Because we're using the variable, but that's okay. And then what we can do now is we can activate. Now our flow is active. So now if we kind of jump now over into any records, so let's just take right here, Betty. We can look at our round robin. Right, so here's our object that we're referencing. We can see Sammy, the SDR, was last assigned a record last night. Right, so go ahead right now. We'll do, go ahead on demand. We'll go ahead and click save. Moved over to Sammy. On demand is turned off. Here's where we were last assigned. And we get this little refresh. We now sort of see that Sammy has now been last assigned just now. So now let's just say, for instance, Sammy's going to be on vacation all next week. We can kind of come in here. We can use this mass action. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and deactivate. Now this is going to grab all of your records that are assignees that are currently active. You can start to select them. In this case, only have one. So we'll turn this person off. Looks like this is using the incorrect alert there where it says active, but you'll notice this has now been inactive. So it's just going to say we're going to assign this now to your default assignee. So now we kind of come back in, go back to all of our open leads, say David. It says assign this over to Sammy. We go, oh crap, didn't mean to give this to Sammy. We'll go on demand. Boom, it's going to kick it back over to me. And then last but not least, let's go back. We'll activate Sammy again. It's been a week. They're back. Boom, Sammy's now active again. And then here is a net new lead. And then we'll say in this case, our lead source, right? Because we're going to use web as our lead source. We'll go ahead and click save. Right, been assigned over to Sammy, used our round robin. And that's it. So I go ahead and stop. We'll kick this on over to Justin now, and then we'll come back to questions at the end.
And everybody, just so you're aware, he actually talks that fast in real life all the time. So, so let's get ready to, so I talk at a normal speed so we can all enjoy this and understand what's going on. Vinny and I love each other very, very much. So basically, see, Drew is on my side. Drew is on my side. So what I'm going to be going through, I had tried to pre-record and I just wasn't liking it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you live in my demo environment some great competitive reporting options that we have, or competitor tracking, basically. So the reason why I wanted to present this was because there's a lot of issues with trying to track things on the opportunity, like competitive actions, or even if you're doing product requests or product features or whatever, where the nasty old multi-pick lists fields come into play. And those are extremely hard to report on. So basically, we created a competitor tracking object and a junction object. I'm going to go through the flow really quick. There's two flows. One of them needs very little adjustment, and then the other one just a couple of adjustments. So the first one is, it is all launched from a screen flow on the opportunity. And it is, I'm going to skip over this just because I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but we have all of the competitors saved in a competitor object, which we will use in our screens using a record choice set. So that means that anytime that you add new competitors to your custom object, they will automatically be added to your record choice set. Trying to find where I can show you the information at. Okay, so basically what we've got is it allows you to add how many ever number of competitors that you want. So in this first screen, you enter the number, and then it goes into an information sort of looping structure. In this choose a competitor, you'll see here is my record choice set for competitors. It is pulling in from the competitor object here by name. And we're going to have the choice label as the name, but the choice value as that competitor's ID. That is very important for the updating of different records later on down the road. And then basically, I've just got a checkbox that says, is this the incumbent or not? And then any notes that have to do with this specific opportunity and competitor matchup. You fill that in, it will basically iterate depending on how many competitors you put in here previously. And then we do an assignment of our values, which there's not many values that are being assigned here. All of these are custom fields on the object that it's creating. You don't have to go in and change any of those. There's only 2 fields in this entire flow that will need to be updated. And I'll get to those in a moment. And then once we have reached 4 or 5, how many ever you want to create, because it does keep a tally, it's going to go ahead and create all of those records and link it back to the opportunity. We also have an edit side, which is pretty cool, where you're able to go in and select on screen, live demos, where we're going to present a data table of the competitors that are linked to this opportunity, and you'll be able to select one and mark that one as the winner if it is a closed lost opportunity. Now, mind you, I'm using the standard data table component in Flow, so it's somewhat limited right now. If you really want to add additional functionality, I suggest using the data table from unofficialsalesforce.com. That allows you to do things like inline editing and things like that. But since I'm not using that, I wanted to use out of the box things, then we ended up having to add a new screen. So this is going to allow you to put in your loss reason, any additional notes, and this will actually, as I'll show you in a moment, if it is a closed lost opportunity, it's automatically going to move that to your closed lost stage. So this is where you would need to update any of your actual org specific fields. And that's going to be right here. This update opportunity is going to be your stage name. So whatever your lost stage name is, you would put here. And then also there is an loss reason field as well. So those are the only two that you would need to make specific to your org if they are already, if you're adding to it. The second one is whenever an opportunity is updated. So when the competitor count, because it also keeps a competitor count on the opportunity record, does not equal 0, and the amount, the stage name, or the close date are updated, it's going to update all of the related opportunity competitive records, which is that junction object. So again, here is on this flow, you would need to go in and make sure that you have mapped your correct fields. Sorry, I now have a cat that is walking in front of my screen. Again, beauty of demos. Cat wants to be involved in everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk you through to show you exactly what this stuff does. So one thing that I do want to call out, whenever I am creating something as a proof of concept, or where I need really fast just test records, I have a flow for that, where it basically uses the same sort of deal that I just walked you through. So I can go ahead and create 3 different test competitors. I'm going to go ahead and leave the other things blank. And now when I refresh my competitors list, here are the 3 that I just created there. So now I can start utilizing test information when I'm going through here. So now what I'll be doing is when I'm in an opportunity, I've just added this really easy screen flow widget over here on the side. I have this conditionally visible. It will hide once it is in a closed status, just so it doesn't take up that screen real estate. And it's super simple. It brings in how many competitors, so it matches right up to this field here. How many competitors are currently associated with the opportunity. And then so easy breezy, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I want to add 3 competitors. And then I'm just going to go down my list. I'm going to go ahead and say that Dan's the incumbent. I can make any notes. She's not the incumbent because Dan is. So now it's recording that I've got 3 competitors. If I go over to my related tab, here are my entries here. And if I wanted to go into that, what it's doing, so I can show you the junction object, is it is actually creating, using a junction object, these records. So I've got my competitor and my opportunity both linked. Those are both master detail relationships going each way. I've got my amount, my close date, and my stage, which is going to be updated each time one of those fields is updated on the opportunity. Now, when I go in, excuse me. Oh, one other thing that I want to say before I do that is on my competitor screen, if I want to just have a quick view of what's going on with this particular competitor, I can add whatever I'd like to this object. So for right now, I just have some roll-up values. So I have number of opportunities, what the total value of opportunities that they're associated with, the total value that they are the incumbent. And then if I have lost any opportunities to this competitor, it also shows that. So it's not going to replace reporting, but it's going to give you a quick view if you need to basically just, if someone asks you a quick question of, hey, how much has been going on with Dan's heating, blah, 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 blah. You can go ahead and pull up the actual competitor record without having to create an entire report. because everything is right there for you, along with your entries here, showing different stages and such. So, so what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and go back into this most recent opportunity, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, unfortunately, I'm going to say that we went ahead and we lost this. So I'm going to click on edit, and this takes us down the other branch. And then it provides me with a data table of the 3 competitors that are on the opportunity, as well as any notes that I may have put towards those competitors. I'm going to go ahead and say that it was Dan's Heating. I'm going to click next. And as we can see, it's already got that competitor name pre-filled in. And I also have winning competitor automatically checked. And then I can add any additional notes. And then I've got my loss reason here. So if I want to put in feature function, I can also put in, any additional notes related to the feature function. What I've also done is, if for some reason someone decides I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that box, it's not going to let me. So I've created a validation within the flow itself that this box must be checked for that branch of the flow. So once I click next, it automatically closes my opportunity to close lost and fills out my loss reason for that. So I don't then have to also go back up to the change close stage. So where does this get us all? So we've got a couple of processes, we've got a couple of objects and some automation in the background. So when I want to report, I can bring up a dashboard. Again, this is basically a very simple dashboard just to get you started. You can build onto it. It's part of the package. Now I've got some additional information here. So total value of open and closed, total of opportunities, breakdown by stage, how many opportunities I've lost to competitors, and what that breakout is on the side. There are 2 underlying reports that go with these, and that is in our competitor tracking. So it's just a basic opportunities with competitors report. And then also I created one specific for the losses because I wanted to be able to narrow down those filters a little bit more. So it feels like I was talking as fast as Vinny, but I hope that it all made sense. And I think that we're at a point where we can start taking questions or anything like that.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I know Vinny, the speed racer, was in there going through it pretty quick, but just so everybody knows, we will have these recordings shared out for everybody to go through within about a week. So if you can follow Vinny, or I know I saw some people come in at about the half-hour mark to jumping on. So we will be able to go through and watch back through this and follow along step by step. And there is also links in the chat for each thing for y'all to follow along step by step. We didn't have any questions come in. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat now. But I think one of the biggest things is, for this, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see face people who are coming in and trying to do these installation packages? I mean, just like common objectives, common anything that you see, any issue wise.
I mean, I'll kind of jump in here, Justin. I mean, Salesforce has natively had assignment rules forever, right? There's sort of a thing in the past. This flow has sort of started to become the new automated process here. I'd say one of the things is totally get yourself super comfortable in flow. Ton of free things out there to sort of learn it. Ton of awesome communities with people to sort of help you guide through these things as well. So, I would always say just try doing these things in sandbox first, because you're not going to really break anything there. And if you do, you can always just refresh your sandbox or spin up a new one. So, I mean, ultimately, these things are pretty lightweight in terms of what Justin and I ran through. And we're obviously here to help. I threw, my meeting link into the chat Justin, I didn't know if you wanted me to put yours there, so I just didn't. But obviously, if you need any help with any of this stuff, we're happy to help. Feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, I was just gonna tell Vinny that I'm actually quite surprised that he didn't voluntold me with my meeting link.
No, me too. I am as well. We did just have a question come in from Drew. Noel, he said, any ideas on pushing or triggering the feedback on the product marketing team in a stream or ongoing analysis, making sure the data comes back in real time or Slack automations?
Is that for the competitor side of the stuff that we went through? I imagine so. So yeah, that would be one of the things that you could definitely do. You know, if you wanted to, this was basically just to get you started. Some other things that I've done is that, you know, if, for instance, if they grab the pick list of, you know, it's a feature or function request or what have you, that spawns off into either an alert or creating another object or another record in a separate object for product requests. So you can really build upon it based on the values that you're capturing. Because I like Vinny was saying, flow is just completely you know, the future, and you can do a lot with it. So but definitely, you know, stretch it out. If you want to be able to get your marketing team or your product team involved, you could even create a case. Say, hey, we lost this opportunity because of, you know, product type is, you know, not intuitive or something like that. You can spend one of those actions up to create a case for your marketing team. So definitely some big improvements that you can make there.
Awesome. And kind of question that I know is always on everybody's mind every time we do a webinar, anything, especially when we're going through any type of education or walkthrough of how to do something, is tech stack. I know this is a question, I know maybe not so specifically relevant to this, but if you do have, you know, for both of you, what is kind of your go-to ideal tech stack for supporting you in Salesforce? And this is kind of right off the cuff, not planned, but if you have anything top of mind, you're like, I can't live without this. I have to have this. This is something I always, each company I go to, I always advocate for onboarding. Any ideas, any of your go-to tech stack that you would like to share with everybody?
Go ahead, Benny.
Yeah, I mean, my favorites, right? And I mean, I'm a favorite type of guy. So, you know, I've been using HubSpot for a long time for marketing automation. It's simple, it's easy, sort of one sort of place to kind of connect to Salesforce very quickly. SalesOff, big fan of in terms of like my sales outreach sort of stuff, counter availability, things like that. And then the last one is Gong. I mean, that's the most incredible tool I find that I leverage most of the case, especially when sort of having discussions with people, they start to get very technical. I write really shitty notes. I can't read my handwriting afterward. I want to sort of stay involved and engaged in the discussion. It's an easy way to sort of come back and remember what the hell we talked about or how we're going to design something. Yeah, Justin.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm with Vinny with, you know, Gong is super, and here she comes. Gong is super, super helpful. I've kind of grown to like HubSpot for marketing automation type things. Slack definitely is a no-brainer. I like being able to send Slack alerts via flows. That's always a good one. And then I'm going to throw out there, I'm trying to think. No, I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah,
I'm with you on the HubSpot marketing automation. That's definitely something I've ventured into since being here, and that is by far my favorite as well. Well, awesome. I know we have a couple of agreements in the chat here. So Any other questions that y'all have? I know both of their meeting links are on there, and I know these two would be more than happy to help anybody with anything. So please do not hesitate to reach out to them. If you would like a connection with them as well, follow them on LinkedIn, reach out to them in the community. If you're not a member of RevOps Co-op, we have the join now link in here, or go to our website, revopscoop.com, and jump in the community and we'll get you onboarded. We host events like these every single week, Tuesdays and Thursdays typically. So looking forward to see everybody at the next one. Vinny, Justin, awesome. Thank you for coming on here and doing this for the community and helping us out. Any other questions, again, follow up in the community, and looking forward to see y'all again next time. I hope everybody has an amazing day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, y'all.